Michael Williams is a Hong Kong University graduate and leading scholar of Chinese-Australian history. He is the author of Returning Home with Glory and Australia's Dictation Test, and has taught at Beijing Foreign Studies University, Peking University, and Western Sydney University. His digital project Chinese-Australian History in 88 Objects was shortlisted for the 2022 Premier's Digital History Prize. His recent book on the robed Chinese walkers and his current project, Scattered Legacy, highlight his continuing contribution to the field. These podcasts are brought to you by ChideStudyPress, publisher of Chinese-Australian History.
Hello and welcome. Today is number 28 in a series, ChideStudyPress series, Chinese-Australian History. And today we're looking at the significant database, Scattered Legacy. And we'll have our bots discuss the Scattered Legacy project, which, as you know, is a database, the national database of Chinese Australian history, and then they talk about how this database is put together and some of the features of the database. And as usual, if you look at the notes for this podcast, you'll see the link to the Scattered Legacy project, as well as, of course, to ChideStudyPress itself. So I hope you enjoy this discussion.
Welcome to the deep dive. So I want you to just imagine for a second that you find this 130-year-old receipt for opium.
Right.
And it's just tucked away in the back room of some tiny rural Australian museum in a former mining town.
Just gathering dust.
Exactly, gathering dust. And in a normal setting, just a curiosity, it's a faded piece of paper sitting under glass. But what if that single, seemingly mundane piece of paper was actually the key to unlocking a completely hidden international commercial empire?
Yeah.
What if it could map out an entire human life that history had just completely forgotten?
Well, that is the exact threshold we are crossing today, because we're looking at a profound shift in how we understand the past. For a very long time, we've relied on centralized institutions to tell our national stories. You walk into a massive building in a capital city, and the narrative is just curated for you.
Right, perfectly contained in those little glass cases.
Exactly, contained and neat.
But looking at the sources we're diving into today, that whole grand museum fantasy it completely falls apart when you try to apply it to certain communities.
It really does.
So today we are taking a deep dive into an overview of this fascinating digital heritage project. It's called Scattered Legacy, a national Chinese-Australian digital archive.
Such a huge initiative.
Huge. And the mission here isn't just to look at a sleek new database. We are exploring a really radical new way of solving an almost impossible historical problem.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you tell a cohesive story when the actual physical evidence of that story has been blown to the winds across an entire continent?
It's a staggering challenge, really, because when we look at Chinese-Australian history, we have to recognize the physical reality of the 19th and early 20th centuries.
Right.
This history wasn't generated in one neat location. It was forged during these highly transient mining booms and agricultural expansion.
People moving around constantly.
Exactly. And the establishment of these massive regional trade roads. So as a result, the physical heritage, the documents, the artifacts, the photographs, it's all incredibly dispersed.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. We were talking about historical fragments tucked away in thousands of tiny, completely disconnected locations.
Yeah, and looking at the sheer scale of the dispersion in the source material, I was actually shocked because these artifacts aren't just sitting in major city archives.
Oh, no.
No, they're in the attics of private homes.
Yes.
They are buried in rural cemeteries. They are held by these little local historical societies in towns whose populations have, dwindled to almost nothing.
Right out in the regions.
So to really understand how this project fixes the problem, we have to unpack just how buried this history actually is. Because it feels less like a scattered puzzle and more like a shattered hard drive.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right, the data is all still physically there in the sectors, but the file directory, the thing that tells you how to read it, how to put the file back together, that's been completely deleted.
The shattered hard drive is, yeah, that's a perfect analogy. And the real tragedy of that missing directory is that the artifacts, they begin to lose their voice entirely.
What do you mean?
Well, consider a local museum that inherits a fascinating Chinese language document from, say, the 1880s.
Okay.
The local curators there They might not have anyone who can read that specific 19th century dialect.
Oh, right.
And they don't have the context of the larger migrant community it came from.
Yeah.
So what happens? It simply gets cataloged as, quote, old Chinese letter and shoved into a drawer.
Wow. So it just becomes isolated data.
Exactly.
Which is crazy because it's like trying to solve a 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, right? But every person in the country is holding exactly one piece, and nobody knows what the picture on the box looks like.
Yes. Everyone has a piece, but no context.
But let me push back on that for a second. Why is that inherently a bad thing?
How do you mean?
Like, why is it so bad for local museums to just hold on to their own local history? What is actually lost when an item stays isolated in that town?
Well, you missed the entire infrastructure behind the item. Local isolation completely prevents us from seeing the broader macro stories.
Right, the bigger picture.
Exactly. If you only look at one merchant in one town, you might think, oh, he was just a solitary shopkeeper.
Just a guy running a store.
Right. But that solitary shopkeeper might have been a crucial node in this incredible network of migration. You completely miss the regional labor movements he was a part of.
Oh, I see.
You miss the complex webs of commerce that connected his tiny small town to major coastal cities, and then eventually, all the way back to Guangdong, China.
Wow. Which means the national narrative remains fractured.
Completely fractured.
The story being told is just one of isolated individuals rather than like a highly sophisticated continent-spanning community.
And that fractured narrative brings us to the technological leap here. This is what the Chinese Australian Historical Society, who are supported by the National Foundation for Australia-China Relations, are trying to achieve with the Scattered Legacy project.
Right.
Because they recognized that a traditional catalog system, even a fully digital one, it just wasn't going to rebuild that missing file directory.
Because a traditional digital catalog is, honestly, it's really just a digital filing cabinet.
Yes.
Like if you don't know exactly what folder to look in, you are never going to find the document.
Precisely. If you use a standard relational database, you are basically relying on keyword searches.
Right.
But imagine a name was anglicized differently in 5 different towns.
Oh, true.
Say he's recorded as Sam in one place and Sam in another.
A keyword search won't connect those at all.
Exactly. It completely misses the connection. So instead of a flat database, Scattered Legacy is built as a networked history. It utilizes concepts closer to linked open data and the semantic web.
Okay, so how is it structured?
So they designed it around 9 major pillars that are constantly interacting with each other.
Okay, let's go through those. I was looking at the architecture of these 9 pillars in the sources, and the way they interlock is pretty brilliant.
It really is. First, you have treasures.
Which are the physical artifacts themselves, right?
Yes, the items. Then you have thematic essays, which provide the interpretive context. There is an entire pillar dedicated to Chinese texts.
Which I found so vital. Like they're actively providing translations and discussions of these primary sources, so these items become actual usable data.
Yes. Not just unreadable visual novelties in a drawer.
Right.
The architecture goes even further, though, to map the human element. You have the historical person's pillar for biographies and family trees.
Right.
You have organizations tracking the various societies, clubs, commercial syndicates. There are places, meaning highly specific local sites.
Like a specific street or building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As well as regions for the broader geographical landscapes.
And the 8th pillar really stood out to me. Practitioners.
Yes, this is a unique one.
They are actually tracking the historians, the researchers, the curators, and even the descendants doing the archiving. Like, they treat the modern-day custodians as a core part of the historical ecosystem itself.
It acknowledges that history is an active, ongoing process.
Yeah.
The people preserving the documents are literally part of the document's journey.
I love that.
And tying all of this together is the 9th pillar, navigation.
Right.
Which houses the specialized tools built to explore the relationships between every single node in this entire system.
Wait, let me play devil's advocate here. Isn't that just a fancy website?
I get that a lot.
Like every museum has a search bar in some categories these days.
Yeah, but what's fascinating here is the contextual linking. You don't just look up an item and stare at it.
Okay.
You move from an artifact to a person, and then from that person to a place they lived, and from that place to a broader historical theme. It is a single, searchable historical ecosystem.
Okay, so it's all mapped out. But looking at this structurally, I really want to dig into the mechanics of how this actually works.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to say, oh, we link the data. It's another to actually execute it. How does the system perform this contextual linking?
It's a lot of work.
I mean, how do historians verify that the John Doe on our opium receipt from the mining town is the exact same John Doe mentioned in a cemetery record 300 miles away?
Well, that is where the rigorous historical methodology really meets the technology. Because the database isn't just matching text strings.
Right.
It's building relational nodes. The historians and practitioners, they do incredible forensic work behind the scenes.
Like what?
Cross-referencing handwriting on commercial correspondence, tracking the specific dates of shipping routes back to China. They even analyze the distinct regional dialects used in the texts just to triangulate an individual's identity.
Oh, wow. So they are actively rebuilding the edges between the nodes. You don't just land on an artifact and hit a dead end. You land on a merchant's ledger, and the system shows you a verified link to the specific person who owned it.
Exactly.
And then you follow that node to the town they lived in. And from that town's node, you can see every other organization that operated there during the exact same decade.
It really mimics human cognition.
Yeah.
You're moving away from that flat filing cabinet into this totally three-dimensional map of relationships.
It's honestly a sociological revelation as much as a technological one. But to really ground this, let's look at the material evidence they're working with.
The artifacts.
Yeah, following the threads. The sheer diversity of the artifacts found on the site, it paints such a vivid picture.
It does.
We're talking about naturalization documents, local cemetery records, commercial correspondence, religious imagery, and, material from various social clubs.
And they're also incredibly specific legal and bureaucratic documents. For instance, the archive includes Chinese restriction certificates.
Okay, let's pause there for a second, because a restriction certificate sounds incredibly ominous.
It does, doesn't it?
What exactly is that document? Are we talking about paperwork specifically created to police and restrict their movement under the immigration laws of the era?
Yes, absolutely. Under early immigration laws, particularly leading into and during the White Australia policy era, Chinese residents faced severe bureaucratic hurdles.
Right.
If a Chinese Australian wanted to travel back to China, maybe to visit family or conduct some business, and then return to their home in Australia, they couldn't just go.
I had to get permission.
They had to apply for these specific exemption or restriction certificates to avoid being subjected to dictation tests or just flat out denied re-entry when they came back.
Wow.
So these documents, they were tools of systemic control. They are complete with photographs, handprints, and highly detailed physical descriptions.
Which means, and this is a wild realization, they're also incredibly rich data points for historians today.
The richest.
It's this ironic twist that the very bureaucracy designed to monitor and restrict this community is now providing the precise data needed to rebuild their legacy.
It is a profound historical pivot. And this is really where the power of Scattered Legacy's network becomes undeniable.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that opium receipt we mentioned right at the start.
Okay, the one in the Mining Town Museum.
Right. In an isolated museum, it just sits in a glass case. The plaque says, opium receipt circa 1895.
And that's it.
That's it. It is treated as an antique, maybe an exotic curiosity.
Yeah.
It tells you absolutely nothing about the lived experience of the human being who actually held it.
But inside Scattered Legacy, you apply that multidimensional web we were talking about.
Exactly.
The receipt is linked to a merchant. The merchant's profile links to one of those restriction certificates, which suddenly shows us exactly what he looked like.
Yes.
And it maps his travel between, say, Sydney and Hong Kong.
And then his travel links to commercial correspondence with the regional farming syndicate.
You start to see the infrastructure.
You do. And then the local organization he belonged to links to religious imagery from a temple they funded.
The realization here is staggering. When you connect all these disparate points, you aren't just looking at an old piece of paper anymore.
No, not at all.
You are watching a marginalized group build incredibly sophisticated hidden support networks. You are seeing a human being navigate systemic discrimination, build an international business, interact with their community, and manage an incredibly complex life across multiple continents.
And when you scale that up, when you apply that web-like contextual linking to thousands of items simultaneously, it doesn't just change the story of one person.
Right.
It shifts the entire historiographical landscape. We move from preserving isolated oddities to revealing this robust, complex national identity that was actually always there.
It was just obscured by the fragmentation of the evidence.
Precisely.
That brings us to the ultimate macro view of this project. It really forces us to ask, why does this matter?
Right, the big question.
Obviously, it's groundbreaking for historians and archivists, but for anyone listening to us right now, why is the structure of this digital database so important?
Well, because it fundamentally redefines the goal of archiving. The true ambition of scattered legacy, as they lay it out in their methodology, isn't preservation.
Wait, really? Not preservation?
No, because preservation is passive.
Hmm?
Preservation is just keeping a piece of paper safe from moisture in an acid-free box.
Okay, fair.
Their ambition is reconstruction.
So they aren't just saving the past, they are actively rebuilding its true shape.
Exactly that. For decades, the narrative surrounding early Chinese Australians was often relegated to the margins.
Yeah.
It was treated as a story of isolated laborers just scattered across the frontier. But by digitally reconnecting these materials, the history is made visible as a unified national story.
A cohesive whole.
Yes, it proves that the context surrounding an object is just as historically vital as the object itself.
And I think there is a huge lesson here for how we handle our own modern reality, honestly. Like, we live in an era of unprecedented information overload. We are constantly bombarded with disconnected data points.
Every single day.
A news headline here, a fragmented text message there, a random statistic on social media. It often feels like we are drowning in information, but, starved for actual knowledge.
Because disconnected data points, much like those isolated artifacts sitting in a regional drawer, they don't tell you the truth of a situation.
Right.
They only give you a fraction of the reality.
So scattered legacy basically proves that knowledge is only truly valuable when it is understood and applied in context.
Context is everything.
Finding the connections between the data points, mapping the relationships, that is how you find the truth. It's an incredible triumph of digital architecture serving a deeply human purpose.
It really takes a dispersed, often silenced historical record and transforms it into a loud, coherent, interconnected ecosystem. It reminds us that history is an active pursuit of connection.
It absolutely does. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Scattered Legacy Archive. We've explored how advanced digital networking and really rigorous historical sleuthing can rebuild a shattered physical past, turning scattered fragments into a rich national ecosystem.
The past is never really lost, as long as we keep searching for the connections.
I love that.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over regarding your own digital footprint.
Oh, this is a good one.
We've seen how historians are painstakingly connecting 130-year-old receipts, travel certificates, and letters just to rebuild entire lives.
Yeah.
Think about the fragments of data you generate every single day.
Your texts, your emails.
Exactly. If a historian in the year 2124 found just one of your digital Uber receipts from last Tuesday, what story would they tell about you? And more importantly, how much of your actual life would they get completely wrong until they finally found the rest of the network? Just something to think about the next time you leave a digital trail.
Well, thank you very much. As usual, the bots have come up with a very interesting discussion. That analogy about fractured hard drives was entirely their own invention, but I think it's quite useful. It's certainly the idea of the history being fractured, and of course bringing it together, a sense of scattered legacy, linking it together, as the bots explain, linking it with treasures, linking it with thematic themes, linking it with people, linking it with links back to the organizations that hold these treasures. I mean, all of this comes together as part of the Scattered Legacy database, which you can ensure to explore yourself. And if you like, what we will be doing is presenting more and more of this information as collated publications as well. Well, that's something for the future. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this rundown of the Scattered Legacy project, which of course you can access simply by typing in Scattered Legacy on your Google database, scatteredlegacy.com.au or scatteredlegacy.org.au. .org is the actual database, and .com is the website with the publications and other information, including, of course, most importantly, how you can submit a treasure of your own if you wish to do. And I hope that many of you will continue to do this. Thank you very much.